What would you do if you found a stranger on the verge of losing everything, her home, her hope, her future, while carrying a child she'd have to raise alone? Would you walk away? Most people would, but Lucas Reed wasn't most people. He was a single father who knew exactly what it felt like to stand on the edge of collapse with no one to catch him. So when he saw that foreclosure notice nailed to her door, when he saw the fear in her eyes, he made a choice that would change both their lives forever. This is their story. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below. I want to see how far this story travels. And if you believe in second chances, hit that like button. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. The rain came down in sheets that April evening. The kind of rain that didn't just fall but attacked. Cold, relentless, drumming against metal roofs and turning dirt roads into rivers of mud. Lucas Reed stood on the covered porch of 428 Maple Street, his worn leather tool belt sagging around his hips, his flannel shirt soaked through at the shoulders despite the overhang. Water dripped from the brim of his baseball cap as he stared at the walnut boards he'd just unloaded from his truck, already calculating measurements in his head. He was tired. The kind of tired that lives in your bones after 10 hours of framing houses in weather that should have shut down the job site. His hands ached, knuckles scraped raw from a morning spent wrestling with a stubborn joist. His lower back throbbed with that familiar burn he'd learned to ignore years ago. But the work wasn't finished. It was never finished. His phone buzzed in his back pocket. He didn't need to look to know who it was. "Dad, when are you coming home?" Lily, his 8-year-old daughter, his whole world. Lucas pulled out his phone, careful to keep it under the porch roof, and typed back with thumbs still stiff from the cold. "Soon, baby. Pizza tonight?" 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, with extra cheese? He smiled despite the exhaustion. "You got it." He pocketed the phone and turned back to the house. It was a craftsman-style bungalow, probably built in the 1920s, with good bones but decades of deferred maintenance. The porch sagged on one side. Paint peeled from the window frames. The gutters overflowed, spilling water in thick streams that splashed onto the walkway below. But it had potential. Lucas could see it, the way he always could. Beneath the rot and neglect was something worth saving. He was reaching for his toolbox when he noticed the paper. It was stapled to the front door, not taped, stapled, like whoever put it there wanted to make sure it didn't blow away, didn't disappear, couldn't be ignored. Even from 10 feet away, Lucas could read the bold letters across the top. Notice of foreclosure. His stomach dropped. He'd seen those notices before. Too many times. On his own door once, back when Lily was still in diapers and his ex-wife had just cleaned out their savings account on her way out the door. He remembered standing on his own porch, holding that paper and shaking hands, wondering how the hell he was going to keep a roof over his daughter's head. The front door opened before he could move. She appeared in the doorway like a ghost, pale, thin, barefoot despite the cold. Her dark hair hung loose around her shoulders, damp at the ends. One hand rested on the doorframe for balance. The other rested protectively on the curve of her belly. She was pregnant, very pregnant. Maybe 7 months, maybe 8. And she wasn't crying. Lucas had seen people cry when they got foreclosure notices. He'd seen them scream, seen them beg, seen them crumple like paper dolls. But this woman, she just stood there, holding herself together with nothing but sheer will, her jaw set, her eyes dry but ringed with shadows so dark they looked like bruises. "You're the carpenter," she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. "Yes, ma'am, Lucas Reed." He took off his cap, water cascading from the brim. "You called about the porch repair." "Maya Collins." She didn't offer her hand. "I'm sorry, I should have called you back. I can't—" She paused, her throat working. "I can't afford it anymore." Lucas glanced at the foreclosure notice, then back at her. "How long do you have?" 30 days. Maya's hand tightened on her belly. "Maybe less. The bank's been aggressive." The rain intensified, hammering the roof like fists. Thunder rolled somewhere in the distance. "Is there someone who can help?" Lucas asked carefully. "Family? The baby's father?" Something flickered across Maya's face. Not quite pain, not quite anger, something colder. My boyfriend left 3 weeks ago, she said. Each word was precise, controlled. He found out I was pregnant and decided he wasn't ready to be a father. He emptied our joint account and moved to Seattle. And my parents... She stopped, shook her head. They told me I made my bed, that I should have been more careful, that this is what I deserve for living with someone outside of marriage. Lucas felt his hands curl into fists. He forced them to relax. No one deserves this, he said. Maya looked at him then, really looked at him. Her eyes were gray, he noticed, the color of storm clouds. You should go, she said. Before the roads get worse, I'll pay you for the trip out here. Just send me an invoice. She started to close the door. Wait, Lucas said. Maya paused. He didn't know what made him say it. Maybe it was the rain. Maybe it was the foreclosure notice. Maybe it was the way she held her belly, protective and alone. The same way he used to hold Lily when she was small and scared and it was just the two of them against the world. Let me look at the porch, he said. No charge. Just let me look. I told you, I can't... I know, I heard you, but I'm already here, and I've got 20 minutes before I need to get home to my daughter. Let me see what we're dealing with. Maya studied him for a long moment. Lucas could see her weighing it, pride against need, suspicion against desperate hope. Why? She asked finally. Because I know what it's like, Lucas said simply. To be alone, to be scared, to think you're out of options. The thunder came again, closer now. The storm was moving in fast. Maya stepped back from the door. 20 minutes, she said. Lucas grabbed his toolbox and climbed the porch steps. Up close, the damage was worse than he'd thought. The support beam on the east side had rotted through completely, leaving the porch listing at a dangerous angle. The floorboards were soft with water damage. The railing wobbled when he gripped it. When did this start? He asked, kneeling to examine the beam. I noticed it sagging about 6 months ago, Maya said from the doorway. She'd wrapped a cardigan around herself, but she was still barefoot, still shivering. I called a few contractors, but they all said it would cost $3,000–$4,000. I was saving up, but then I lost my job. What happened? I'm a teacher. Was a teacher. 4th grade. She hugged herself tighter. The school said they were making budget cuts. They let go of all the new hires. I'd only been there 2 years. Lucas felt anger rising in his chest again, hot and familiar. He'd seen this pattern before. Single mothers, pregnant women, people without resources getting pushed out, discarded, left to fend for themselves. This beam needs to be replaced, he said, keeping his voice level. And the joists underneath. The floorboards, too. But it's not a $4,000 job. That's robbery. How much? Maya asked quietly. Lucas did the math in his head. Materials, labor, his time. $1,500. Maybe less if I can salvage some of the wood. I don't have $1,500, Maya said. I don't even have $500. I've got... She trailed off, and for the first time her composure cracked. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I've got $243 in my bank account. That's it. That's everything. The wind picked up, howling through the trees. A branch cracked somewhere in the darkness. The rain shifted direction, driving under the porch roof, speckling Lucas's face with cold drops. His phone buzzed again. Lily. Dad? Are you okay? He should leave. He should get in his truck, drive home to his daughter, order that pizza, help with homework, tuck her into bed with a story. He had responsibilities. He had a life that was already complicated enough without taking on someone else's problems. But when he looked up at Maya Collins, standing in that doorway, one hand on her belly, her whole world collapsing around her, he saw himself 6 years ago. He saw the man he'd been when his ex-wife left, when the bills piled up and the mortgage came due, and he didn't know how he was going to feed his baby girl, when he'd stood alone in the wreckage of his life and no one, not his family, not his friends, not a single person, had stepped up to help. He'd survived that. Barely. But he'd survived. And he'd promised himself then that if he ever had the chance to be different, to be the person who stayed, who helped, who showed up, he would take it. I'll do it for $200, Lucas heard himself say. Maya's eyes widened. What? $200. I'll fix the porch, replace what needs replacing. It'll take me a few days, working evenings, but I'll get it done. That's not even enough to cover materials. I've got scrap wood from other jobs, and I need the practice anyway. It was a lie, and they both knew it. Lucas had been a carpenter for 15 years. He didn't need practice. Maya shook her head slowly. Why would you do this? Because someone should, Lucas said. He stood, brushing sawdust from his jeans. Because you're in trouble and I can help. That's enough. For a moment, Maya just stared at him. Then her eyes filled with tears, the first real emotion she'd shown since he'd arrived. I don't even know you, she whispered. No, Lucas agreed. But you will. He turned to leave, to go home to Lily, to think about what he'd just committed to. But before he reached the steps, Maya called out, Lucas? He turned back. She was still in the doorway, still holding herself together, but something had shifted in her face. The hard shell of survival had cracked just enough to let something else through, something fragile and desperate and hopeful. Thank you, she said. Lucas nodded. I'll be back tomorrow evening, around 6 after I get my daughter settled. Okay. Maya hesitated, then added, I'll have the 200 ready. No rush, Lucas said. Focus on taking care of yourself and that baby. He climbed into his truck and pulled away from the curb, his headlights cutting through the rain. In his rear-view mirror, he could see Maya still standing in the doorway, watching him go. His phone buzzed again. This time he answered. Hey, baby. Dad, where are you? Lily's voice was small, worried. On my way home. Sorry I'm late. It's raining really hard. Are you safe? Lucas's throat tightened, his 8-year-old daughter worrying about him, making sure he was okay, taking care of him the way he was supposed to take care of her. I'm safe, he promised. I'll be home in 15 minutes. Extra cheese pizza, remember? With breadsticks? He smiled. With breadsticks. Okay. I love you, Dad. I love you too, Lily. So much. He hung up and drove through the rain, his windshield wipers beating a steady rhythm, his mind already working through logistics. He'd need to rearrange his schedule, maybe skip lunch breaks to make up the time. He'd have to explain to his boss why he needed to leave early a few days this week. He'd have to be careful not to let this interfere with Lily's routine, her homework, her bedtime, their Saturday morning pancakes. But it would be worth it. It had to be. Because somewhere in that house behind him was a woman who needed help. A woman who was scared and alone and running out of options. A woman who, in about 2 months, was going to bring a child into this world without a partner, without a home, without any kind of safety net. Lucas knew what happened to people like that. He'd lived it. And if he could stop it from happening to someone else, even once, even for one person, then maybe all those nights he'd spent alone and terrified wouldn't have been for nothing. The next evening, Lucas pulled up to 428 Maple Street at exactly 6 o'clock. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still heavy with clouds, the air thick with moisture. He'd left Lily at his sister's house. Amy had agreed to watch her for a few hours, though she'd given him that look, the one that said, "You're taking on too much again." Maybe he was. But he was here now. Maya answered the door before he could knock. She looked better than she had the night before, less pale, more rested. She'd pulled her hair back into a ponytail and wore jeans with an elastic waistband and an oversized sweater. "You came back," she said. "I said I would." "I know, but—" She trailed off, shaking her head. "Most people don't." Lucas set down his toolbox. "Most people aren't me." He got to work immediately, tearing out the rotted floorboards, exposing the damaged joists underneath. Maya watched from the doorway for a while, then disappeared inside. She returned 20 minutes later with a glass of sweet tea and a sandwich on a paper plate. "You didn't have to," Lucas started. "It's just a sandwich," Maya interrupted. "You're saving my house for $200. The least I can do is feed you." Lucas accepted the plate with a grateful nod. Turkey and cheese on wheat bread. Simple, but good. He ate standing up, too dirty to sit anywhere, while Maya leaned against the doorframe. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." "Why did you become a carpenter?" Lucas took a sip of tea, considering the question. "My dad was a carpenter, and his dad before that. I grew up in workshops, covered in sawdust, learning how to use a level before I could ride a bike." He smiled at the memory. "I always liked it. The way you could take raw materials, wood, nails, simple things, and build something that lasted, something real. Do you still enjoy it? Most days. He set down the plate. It's honest work, and when I'm framing a house or building a deck, I know exactly what I'm doing. No guesswork, no politics, just measurements and effort and skill. Maya was quiet for a moment. Then, what happened with your daughter's mother? Lucas hadn't expected that question. Most people danced around it, too polite or too uncomfortable to ask directly. She left, he said simply. Lily was 2. My ex, Jennifer, she decided she didn't want to be a mother anymore. Said she was too young, that she'd made a mistake, that she needed to find herself. He couldn't keep the bitterness out of his voice. She moved to Colorado with a guy she met online, signed away her parental rights. I haven't heard from her in 6 years. I'm sorry, Maya said softly. Don't be. Lily's better off. We both are. He picked up his hammer again. It was hard at first, really hard. I didn't know how to braid hair or pack school lunches or explain why some kids have mommies and daddies and she only has me. But we figured it out, together. She's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one, Lucas said, and he meant it. He worked until dark, until the mosquitoes came out and Maya insisted he stop for the night. He'd made good progress. All the rotted wood removed, the foundation exposed and assessed. Tomorrow, he'd start the rebuild. As he packed up his tools, Maya appeared with an envelope. The 200, she said. Like we agreed. Lucas hesitated. Keep it for now. You can pay me when the job's done. I'd rather pay you now, Maya insisted, so I know we're square. He understood what she was really saying. I don't want to owe anyone anything. Pride was sometimes all you had left when everything else was gone. All right, he said, accepting the envelope. He didn't plan to keep it. He'd find a way to give it back later, maybe slip it into her mailbox with the final invoice marked paid in full. But for now, he let her have this. Same time tomorrow? He asked. I'll be here. Lucas drove home thinking about Maya, about the way she held herself, the careful control in her voice, the walls she'd built to keep herself safe. He recognized those walls. He'd built the same ones after Jennifer left. It took time to tear walls down, but he'd learned something important over the years. Sometimes the strongest thing you could do was let someone help you. He hoped Maya would learn that too. Nuts. By the end of the week, the porch was half finished. Lucas had replaced the support beam, reinforced the joists, and laid down new floorboards on the east side. The work was going faster than he'd expected, partly because he was motivated, and partly because Maya had started helping. It started small. She'd bring him tools before he asked for them, hold board steady while he measured, clean up sawdust at the end of the night. Then, on Thursday, she'd picked up a hammer. Teach me, she'd said. Lucas had looked at her, 7 months pregnant, barefoot, determined, and smiled. All right. First lesson, grip it like this. Now she was driving nails with surprising accuracy, her tongue poking out in concentration, her belly bumping against the sawhorse. You're a natural, Lucas said, watching her sink a nail in 3 clean strikes. My grandfather was a builder, Maya said, brushing hair from her face. He died when I was 12, but I remember watching him work. He always said good craftsmanship was about patience and attention to detail. Smart man. They worked in comfortable silence for a while. The only sounds, the rhythmic hammering, and the evening birds calling from the trees. The clouds had finally cleared, revealing a sky streaked with orange and pink. Lucas? Maya said suddenly. Yeah? Why are you really doing this? He set down his drill. I told you, because I can help. That's not the whole truth, though, is it? Lucas sat back on his heels, wiping sweat from his forehead. The sunset painted Maya's face in warm light, softening the hard edges of exhaustion and worry. When Jennifer left, he said slowly, I lost everything. Not just her, though that was bad enough. I lost my savings, my confidence, my sense of who I was. I had a 2-year-old daughter who needed me to be strong, and I was barely holding it together. He paused, remembering those dark days, the panic attacks in the middle of the night, the crushing weight of responsibility, the certainty that he was failing, that he wasn't enough. No one helped me, he continued. Not my parents. They said I should have known better than to marry someone so young. Not my friends. They all had their own lives, their own problems. Not the bank, not the government, not anybody. I figured it out alone because I had to, because Lily needed me to. He met Maya's eyes. But it shouldn't have been that way, he said. People shouldn't have to suffer alone just because they made mistakes or trusted the wrong person or got dealt a bad hand. So when I saw you on that porch, when I saw that foreclosure notice, I thought, here's my chance. Here's my chance to be the person I needed back then. Maya's eyes glistened with unshed tears. You're a good man, Lucas Reed, she whispered. I'm trying to be. She turned back to the porch, picked up her hammer, and drove another nail. But her hands were shaking now, and after a moment she set the hammer down and pressed her palms against her eyes. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice breaking. I'm so scared. This baby is coming, and I don't have a home or a job or any idea how I'm going to take care of her. Everyone says I should give her up for adoption, that it's the responsible thing to do. But I can't. I can't give her away. She's mine. Lucas stood and walked over to her. He didn't touch her. They weren't there yet. But he stood close enough that she could feel his presence, solid and steady. You're not giving her up, he said firmly. And you're not losing this house. We're going to fix the porch, and then we're going to fix whatever else needs fixing, and we're going to figure out a way to keep you here. You can't promise that. Watch me. Maya looked up at him, searching his face for doubt or pity or false hope. But all she saw was determination. Why do you care so much? She asked. Kishwan. Because you deserve it, Lucas said simply. Because your daughter deserves it. And because I'm tired of watching good people fall through the cracks while everyone else looks away. They stood there as the sun set, two broken people building something stronger than the sum of their parts. And for the first time since her boyfriend had walked out, Maya Collins let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone after all. The porch was finished on a Tuesday, just as the weather forecast started warning about a major storm system moving in from the west. Lucas stood back, hands on his hips, surveying their work. The new boards gleamed golden in the afternoon light, the support beams solid and true, the railing sturdy enough to lean against without worry. It's beautiful, Maya said from behind him. She'd come outside with 2 glasses of lemonade, moving carefully with her hand pressed against her lower back. At 32 weeks now, she was all belly, her movements slow and deliberate. It'll last another 100 years if you take care of it, Lucas said, accepting the glass. The lemonade was tart and cold, perfect for the unseasonably warm May afternoon. Maya ran her hand along the railing, her fingers tracing the smooth wood. I can't believe we actually did this. You did most of it, Lucas pointed out. I just showed you how. It was true. Over the past 2 weeks, Maya had transformed from a hesitant observer into a competent carpenter's assistant. She could measure twice and cut once, drive nails straight, read a level. Her hands had blistered and then calloused. She'd learned the difference between a Phillips and a flathead, a joist and a stud, pressure-treated and regular lumber. More importantly, she'd learned that she was capable, that she could build things, fix things, take control of at least one small part of her collapsing world. My ex called yesterday, Maya said suddenly, her voice carefully neutral. Lucas turned to face her. Evan? Yeah. He wanted to know if I'd reconsidered his offer. What offer? Maya set down her lemonade glass on the new railing, her jaw tight. He said he'd help with the foreclosure if I agreed to give the baby up for adoption. He knows a couple, wealthy, stable, married. They can't have kids of their own. He said it would be better for everyone. Lucas felt his hands curl into fists. He forced them to relax, took a slow breath. What did you tell him? I told him to go to hell. Maya's voice was steady, but her eyes blazed. This is my daughter, mine. Not his, not some stranger's. Mine. Good. He said I was being selfish, that I was putting my feelings ahead of what's best for the baby. She pressed her hand against her belly, protective and fierce. But how is giving her away what's best? How is growing up thinking her mother didn't want her what's best? It's not, Lucas said firmly. You're doing the right thing. Maya looked at him, and something in her expression made Lucas's chest tighten. It was trust, he realized. Complete, absolute trust. She believed him. She believed in herself because he believed in her. It was a heavy responsibility, that trust. But Lucas had carried heavy things before. "The storm's coming in tonight," he said, changing the subject before the moment could get too intense. "Weather Service is saying high winds, possible hail, maybe even a tornado warning." Maya glanced at the sky. The clouds were building on the horizon, dark and swollen. "I should probably stock up on supplies. Candles, batteries, water." "Already done," Lucas said. He walked to his truck and pulled out 2 grocery bags. Flashlights, batteries, weather radio, bottled water, non-perishable food. "And I checked your windows this morning before you woke up. They're all secure." Maya stared at him. "You checked my windows?" "The frames were loose on the north side. I tightened them while you were sleeping. Also fixed that leak in your bathroom sink." "Lucas, and I noticed your gutters are clogged. I'll clean them out before the rain starts." "Lucas, stop." Maya's voice was sharp enough to cut through his planning. "You can't keep doing this." "Doing what?" "Taking care of me. Fixing everything. Spending all your free time here instead of with your daughter." Lucas set down the grocery bags. "Lily's fine. She's with my sister tonight. And I'm not—" "Yes, you are." Maya walked down the porch steps, putting distance between them. "You're here every evening. You fix my porch, my windows, my sink. You bring me groceries. You check on me like I'm some kind of charity case." "That's not what this is." "Then what is it?" Maya spun to face him, her voice rising. "Because I can't afford to pay you. I can't give you anything in return. So why are you really here, Lucas? What do you want from me?" The question hung in the air between them, sharp and accusatory. Lucas could have been angry. He could have defended himself, listed all the reasons his help was purely altruistic. But he'd learned over the years that people lashed out when they were scared. And Maya was terrified, not of him, but of depending on him, of needing him. "I want to help you," he said quietly. "That's all. No strings, no expectations. Just help." "Why?" "Because 6 years ago, I needed help, and nobody gave it to me. And I don't want that to happen to you." Maya's shoulders sagged. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean, I'm just not used to this. To people actually showing up." "I know. Every person in my life has left. My parents, my ex, even my best friend stopped returning my calls when she found out I was pregnant. I'm not good at accepting help because help always comes with conditions." "Not this time," Lucas said. Maya searched his face, looking for the lie, the angle, the hidden cost. But all she saw was the same steady certainty she'd seen for 2 weeks now. "The storm," she said finally. "You should get home before it hits. Get back to Lily." Lucas glanced at the darkening sky. The wind was picking up, rustling the new leaves on the oak tree in Maya's front yard. The air had that electric quality that came before bad weather. "I'll clean the gutters first," he said. 30 minutes, tops." "Lucas, 30 minutes. 30 by. Then I'll go." He was up the ladder before she could argue, pulling handfuls of rotted leaves and debris from the gutters, working quickly as the sky grew darker. Maya stood below, one hand shading her eyes, the other resting on her belly. "You're stubborn," she called up to him. "So are you," he called back. "I mean it, infuriatingly stubborn." "Good thing you like me then." There was a pause, then Maya said, quieter now, "Yeah, I guess it is." Lucas finished the gutters just as the first drops of rain began to fall. Big, heavy drops that splattered on the roof and hissed against the hot pavement. He climbed down the ladder, secured it in Maya's garage, and grabbed his keys from his truck. "Lock your doors," he told Maya. "Stay away from the windows if it gets bad, and call me if you need anything." "I will." "I mean it, Maya. Anything, even if it's 3 in the morning." She nodded, but Lucas could see the doubt in her eyes. She wouldn't call. She'd handle it alone, the way she'd handled everything alone. He wanted to stay. Every instinct screamed at him to stay, to make sure she was safe, to be there in case something went wrong. But Lily was waiting. His daughter needed him. "I'll check on you tomorrow," he said. "Okay." He got in his truck and drove away, watching Maya in his rearview mirror until she disappeared inside her house. The rain was falling harder now, the wind buffeting his truck as he navigated the empty streets. By the time he reached his sister's house, the storm was in full force. Amy met him at the door, her expression worried. "You cutting it close? Weather says we might have tornadoes." "I know. Where's Lily?" "In the living room. She's been worried about you." Lucas found his daughter curled up on the couch, her favorite stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. She looked up when he entered, relief flooding her face. "Dad, you're okay." "Of course I'm okay, baby." He sat beside her, pulling her into a hug. She was getting so big, he thought. When had she gotten so big? "The storm's really bad," Lily said against his chest. "Is the lady okay? The one whose porch you fixed?" Lucas had told Lily about Maya, not everything, but enough, that he was helping someone who needed it, that it was important. "She's okay," he assured her. "She's safe in her house." "Is she by herself?" "Yes." Lily pulled back, her small face serious. "That's sad. Nobody should be alone in a storm." Lucas's throat tightened. His daughter had the biggest heart of anyone he knew. Even at 8 years old, she understood things most adults missed. "You're right," he said softly. "Nobody should." They sat together as the storm raged outside, the lights flickering, thunder shaking the windows. Amy brought them hot chocolate and blankets. They watched an old movie on her laptop until Lily's eyes drooped and she fell asleep with her head on Lucas's shoulder. Lucas should have been relaxed. His daughter was safe. They were warm and dry. The storm would pass, but all he could think about was Maya, alone in that house, the baby moving inside her, no one there to tell her it would be okay. His phone buzzed. A text from Maya. "Power's out. But I'm fine. Don't worry." The fact that she'd texted at all, that she'd reached out even in that small way, felt like progress. "Good," he typed back. "Stay safe. Text if you need anything." 3 dots appeared. Then, "Thank you for everything." Lucas stared at those words for a long time before responding. "You're welcome." The storm lasted 3 hours. When it finally passed, leaving only steady rain and distant thunder, Lucas carried Lily to Amy's guest room and tucked her in. She didn't wake up, just sighed and turned over, hugging her rabbit tighter. "You really care about this woman," Amy said from the doorway. "I'm just helping her." "Lucas," Amy's voice was gentle but firm. "I know you. I've watched you these past 2 weeks. You're not just helping, you're invested." "She needs someone." "Maybe. But what do you need?" Lucas looked at his sleeping daughter, then back at his sister. "I need to know I'm making a difference. That all the hard stuff I went through wasn't for nothing. That I can use it to help someone else." "That's noble," Amy said. "But be careful. Don't lose yourself in saving someone else." "I'm not. You have a daughter who needs you. A job. A life. Don't forget that while you're fixing someone else's." Lucas knew she was right, but he also knew he couldn't walk away. Not now. Not when Maya was starting to trust him, starting to believe that maybe the world wasn't as cruel as she'd thought. "I'll be careful," he promised. Amy didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. "Get some sleep. You look exhausted," Lucas tried. He lay in Amy's guest room, listening to the rain, thinking about Maya alone in her house, thinking about the foreclosure notice, the baby coming, all the ways things could still fall apart. He must have dozed off eventually because he woke to his phone ringing. The clock read 2:47 a.m. Maya's name flashed on the screen. He answered before the second ring. "Maya, what's wrong?" "I'm sorry." Her voice was small, scared. "I know it's late, but there's water inside the house, coming from the ceiling in the bedroom, and I don't know what to do." Lucas was already pulling on his jeans. "I'm coming. 20 minutes. Can you turn off the main water valve?" "I don't know where it is." "Basement. Look for a red wheel, probably near where the water line comes into the house. Turn it clockwise." Okay, I'll try." "Maya," he gentled his voice. "Breathe, you're going to be fine. I'm on my way." He hung up and grabbed his keys, moving quickly through the dark house. Amy appeared in the hallway, half asleep. "What's wrong?" "Water leak. I have to go. Oh, Lucas, it's almost 3 in the morning. I know. I'll be back before Lily wakes up. He was in his truck before Amy could respond, driving through the rain-slicked streets, his headlights cutting through the darkness. The storm had knocked down branches and scattered debris across the roads. A traffic light was out on Main Street. He drove faster than he should have, his heart pounding. When he pulled up to Maya's house, she was standing on the porch in a bathrobe, soaking wet, her hair plastered to her face. She'd been crying. I couldn't find the valve, she said as soon as he got out of the truck. I looked everywhere, but it's dark, and I couldn't. It's okay. Lucas grabbed his flashlight and toolbox. Show me where the water's coming from. The damage was worse than he'd expected. The ceiling in Maya's bedroom had a wet, sagging section above the bed, water dripping steadily onto the mattress. The floor was puddled. Her clothes, laid out for the next day, were soaked. The roof, Lucas said grimly. Storm must have torn off some shingles. Can you fix it? Not tonight. Too dark, too wet, too dangerous. But I can stop the leak temporarily and get a tarp over the damaged section. He worked quickly, finding the main water valve and shutting it off, then climbing into the attic to assess the damage. There was a hole the size of a basketball, where the roof had given way, rain pouring through. He managed to cover it with a tarp and duct tape, a temporary patch that would hold until morning. By the time he came back downstairs, it was almost 4:30, and he was soaked to the bone. Maya had cleaned up the water in the bedroom and was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, shivering. You can't sleep in there tonight, Lucas said. Too wet. I'll sleep on the couch. Maya, I'm fine. But she wasn't fine. She was exhausted and scared and trying so hard to hold it together that Lucas could see the cracks forming. Let me make you some tea, he said. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. Let me anyway. He found chamomile in her cupboard and made 2 cups, strong and sweet. They sat together on the couch, not talking, just breathing. Outside, the rain had finally stopped. The world was quiet except for the drip, drip, drip of water falling from the eaves. I'm sorry I called, Maya said finally. You were right. I should have just handled it myself. No. Lucas set down his tea. You did exactly the right thing. You needed help, and you asked for it. That takes courage. It feels like weakness. It's not. Trust me. Maya pulled the blanket tighter around herself. My whole life, I've had to be strong. My parents, they were strict, demanding. Nothing was ever good enough. When I got pregnant, they said it proved what they'd always thought about me, that I was irresponsible, reckless, a disappointment. You're none of those things, Lucas said firmly. How do you know? Because I've watched you these past 2 weeks. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. You're fighting for your daughter before she's even born. You're learning new skills, working with your hands, refusing to give up even when everything's falling apart. That's not weakness, Maya. That's strength. Her eyes filled with tears. I don't feel strong. You don't have to feel it to be it. They sat in silence for a while longer. Then Maya said, so quietly he almost missed it. Will you stay? Just for tonight. I don't want to be alone. Lucas should have said no, should have explained about Lily, about boundaries, about how he needed to get home before his daughter woke up. But when he looked at Maya, exhausted, pregnant, frightened, he couldn't leave. I'll stay, he said, but I need to be gone by 7, before Lily wakes up. Okay. He called Amy, left a voicemail explaining the situation. Then he settled into the armchair across from the couch, pulled a throw blanket over himself, and closed his eyes. But he didn't sleep. He couldn't. Because every time he started to drift off, he'd hear Maya shift on the couch, hear her breathing, and he'd remember that she was trusting him, depending on him. And he couldn't let her down. When dawn finally broke, pale and gray through the windows, Maya was asleep. Lucas stood carefully, trying not to wake her. He needed to go, needed to get back to Lily, needed to maintain some semblance of normal life. But before he could reach the door, Maya's voice stopped him. Lucas? He turned. She was sitting up, the blanket pooled around her waist, her hand resting on her belly. The baby's kicking, she said. Do you want to feel? Lucas hesitated. It felt like crossing a line, like stepping into something more intimate than he'd intended. But the hope in Maya's eyes, The desire to share this moment with someone, anyone, made the decision for him. He crossed the room and sat beside her on the couch. Maya took his hand and placed it gently on the curve of her belly. For a moment, nothing. Then, there, a flutter, a kick, a tiny life making itself known. Lucas's breath caught. He'd felt this before with Jennifer and Lily, but this time it felt different. This time it felt like a promise, like responsibility, like the beginning of something he hadn't planned for but couldn't walk away from. "She's strong," he said, his voice rough. "Like her mother," Maya said, and she was smiling now, really smiling, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. They stayed like that for a long moment, his hand on her belly, feeling the baby move, connected in a way that transcended words or logic or sense. Then Lucas's phone buzzed, a text from Amy. "Lily's asking for you." Reality crashed back in. "I have to go," Lucas said, pulling his hand away. "I know." He stood, grabbed his keys, headed for the door. But before he left, he turned back one more time. "I'll fix the roof today," he said, "after work, and we'll figure out the foreclosure. There has to be a solution." "Lucas, you don't have to, I know, but I'm going to anyway." He left before she could argue. Driving home through the early morning streets, his hand still tingling from where he'd felt the baby kick. And somewhere between Maya's house and his own, Lucas Reed realized that he'd crossed a line he couldn't uncross. This wasn't just about helping anymore. This was about caring, about being involved, about stepping into their lives in a way that would change everything. He just hoped he was ready for what came next. Lucas made it home just as Lily was waking up. She padded into the kitchen in her pajamas, her hair sticking up in wild directions, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Morning, baby," he said, already pulling out the pancake mix. Their Saturday tradition, no matter what else was happening in his life. "You smell like rain," Lily observed, climbing onto a kitchen stool. "Got caught in it last night. The lady I've been helping, her roof leaked." "Is she okay?" "She will be. I'm going to fix it today." Lily was quiet for a moment, watching him measure flour and crack eggs. Then she said, "Dad, do you like her?" Lucas's hand stilled on the whisk. "What do you mean?" "The lady, Maya. Do you like her?" "She's a friend who needs help." "But do you like her?" Lily's voice was careful, testing. Lucas set down the whisk and looked at his daughter. At 8 years old, she was already too perceptive, too aware of the undercurrents adults tried to hide. "I care about her," he said honestly. She's going through a hard time and she doesn't have anyone. But that doesn't mean..." "It's not like that, Lily." "Okay." But Lily didn't sound convinced. "Can I meet her sometime?" "Maybe, when things settle down." They made pancakes together, Lily chattering about school and her friends and the book she was reading. Lucas tried to focus, tried to be present, but part of his mind was still at Maya's house, calculating materials needed for the roof repair, running through his schedule to figure out when he could get it done. After breakfast, he dropped Lily at her Saturday art class and headed to the hardware store. The roof would need at least 20 new shingles, roofing nails, tar paper, and flashing. He added it all to his account, trying not to wince at the total. "Big project?" asked Tom, the store manager, as he rang up the order. "Roof repair, storm damage." "Your place?" "A friend's." Tom gave him a knowing look. "You're a good man, Lucas. Not many people would spend their Saturday fixing someone else's roof." Lucas just shrugged and loaded the supplies into his truck. He was back at Maya's house by noon. She answered the door looking better than she had at dawn, showered, dressed in clean clothes, her hair pulled back in a neat braid. "You came back," she said. "I said I would." "I know, but after last night I thought..." She stopped, shaking her head. "Never mind. Thank you." Lucas carried the shingles around to the side of the house and set up his ladder. The damage was worse in daylight. A section of the roof near the chimney had been torn away completely, exposing the attic to the elements. It would take hours to repair properly. He was 2 hours into the work, sweat dripping down his back despite the cool breeze, when a black Mercedes pulled into Maya's driveway. Lucas paused, watching as a man in an expensive suit climbed out. He was tall, polished, with the kind of confident stride that came from never being told no. "Can I help you?" Lucas called down from the roof. The man looked up, shading his eyes. Who are you? I asked first. Evan Mitchell. I'm here to see Maya. Lucas's hands tightened on the hammer. So this was the ex, the one who'd abandoned Maya when she needed him most. She's inside, Lucas said curtly. Before Evan could respond, Maya appeared on the porch. Her whole body had gone rigid, her face pale. What are you doing here? She asked. We need to talk. Evan climbed the porch steps without invitation. About the house, about the baby, about your future. I don't have anything to say to you. Maya, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. You left. You gave up any right to have an opinion about my life or my daughter. Evan glanced at Lucas, still watching from the roof. Can we talk privately? Anything you have to say, you can say in front of Lucas. Something shifted in Evan's expression. Lucas, the carpenter. I've heard about you. Have you now? Lucas climbed down from the ladder, moving to stand at the base of the porch steps. He didn't like the way Evan was looking at Maya, like she was a problem to be solved rather than a person. From the bank, Evan continued, turning back to Maya. They mentioned you had someone doing work on the house. I thought it was professional, but now I see. His eyes traveled between them, cold and calculating. This is interesting. What do you want, Evan? Maya's voice was steel. I came to make you an offer, a good one, better than you deserve, frankly. He pulled a folder from his briefcase. I'll buy the house from you, pay off the foreclosure, give you $10,000 on top of it, enough to get settled somewhere new, start fresh. I don't want to start fresh. I want to stay in my home. This isn't your home anymore, Maya. You can't afford it. You lost your job, you're about to have a baby, and you're delusional if you think you can make this work. I'm making it work just fine. Evan's laugh was sharp and ugly. Are you? By letting some random carpenter play hero? By depending on charity? Watch yourself, Lucas said quietly, but there was warning in his voice. Evan ignored him. I'm trying to help you, Maya. Can't you see that? This house is falling apart. You're falling apart. Take the money, give the baby to the Hendersons, they're still waiting, and move on with your life. The Hendersons? Maya's voice shook. You already found adoptive parents? Without even asking me? They're perfect. Wealthy, stable, married 15 years. They can give this child everything you can't. They can't give her a mother who loves her. Love doesn't pay the bills, Evan snapped. Love doesn't keep a roof over her head or food in her stomach. You're being selfish, Maya. Keeping this baby because of some misguided maternal instinct, when you have to know, that she'd be better off with someone else. Lucas was moving before he thought about it, stepping between Evan and Maya, his voice low and dangerous. You need to leave. Now. This is none of your business. You made it my business when you showed up here harassing a pregnant woman. Harassing? Evan's eyes narrowed. I'm offering her a way out. What are you offering? Free labor and false hope? I'm offering her respect, something you clearly know nothing about. For a moment, Lucas thought Evan might take a swing at him. The other man's jaw clenched, his hands curling into fists. But then he seemed to remember himself, remember where he was, who might be watching. Fine, Evan said, stepping back. But he turned to Maya one more time. You have until the end of the month before the bank takes the house. When that happens, you'll have nothing. No home, no job, no options. And this, he gestured dismissively at Lucas, this fantasy you're living where some stranger swoops in to save you? It's not real, Maya. People don't actually do that. He'll get tired of your problems and leave, just like everyone else. And you'll be alone again, except this time you'll have a baby to take care of. He left the folder on the porch railing and walked back to his Mercedes. Maya stood frozen, watching him drive away, her arms wrapped around herself. Lucas waited until the car disappeared around the corner before he spoke. Are you okay? No. Her voice was barely audible. I'm not okay. She sat down heavily on the porch steps, and Lucas could see her hands shaking. He sat beside her, close but not touching, giving her space to fall apart if she needed to. He's right, Maya whispered. About all of it. The house, the money, my job. I can't do this. I can't keep this baby and stay here and make it work. It's impossible. It's not impossible. Lucas, look around. She gestured at the house, at the patched roof, at the foreclosure notice still stapled to the door. This is my life. Broken things held together with duct tape and hope. What kind of life is that for a child? A real one, Lucas said firmly. My daughter grew up in an apartment with furniture from Goodwill and clothes from yard sales. We ate pasta 5 nights a week because it was cheap. I couldn't afford dance lessons or summer camps or half the things her friends had. But she had me. She had someone who showed up every single day, who loved her, who made sure she knew she mattered. And you know what? She's happy. She's thriving. Because kids don't need perfect lives, Maya. They need parents who don't give up. But what if I fail? What if I can't? You won't fail. You're too stubborn to fail. Maya looked at him, and there were tears on her cheeks now, running silently down her face. Why do you believe in me so much? Because I see you, Lucas said simply. I see how hard you're fighting. I see how much you love that baby already. I see someone worth believing in. She leaned against him then, just slightly, her shoulder pressing against his. Lucas put his arm around her, and they sat there on the porch as the afternoon sun filtered through the trees, two people who'd been broken by life finding something like hope in each other. He's going to come back, Maya said finally. Evan, he won't let this go. He needs me to give up the baby so he doesn't have to feel guilty about leaving. Let him come. We'll deal with it. We? Lucas hadn't meant to say that. But now that it was out there, he couldn't take it back. Yeah, you're not doing this alone anymore. Maya pulled back to look at him. Lucas, you have a daughter, a life. This isn't your responsibility. I know it's not. I'm choosing it anyway. Why? He could have given her the same answers he'd been giving, that he wanted to help, that he knew what it was like, that it was the right thing to do. But sitting there with her, feeling her weight against him, he realized there was more to it than that. Because when I'm here, he said slowly, when I'm helping you, I feel like I'm doing something that matters. Like I'm not just surviving, I'm actually making a difference. And maybe, he stopped, unsure how to finish. Maybe what? Maybe I'm not just helping you. Maybe you're helping me too. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Your daughter asked about me, didn't she? How did you know? Because I can see it in your face. You're worried about what this means, about how to explain it, about whether you're doing the right thing. I don't want to confuse her. She's already been through so much with her mother leaving. I don't want her to get attached. And then I disappoint her too, Maya finished. I understand. That's not what I meant. But it's what you're thinking, and you're right to think it. I'm a mess, Lucas. My life is falling apart. You shouldn't bring your daughter into this. Lucas stood up, frustrated. Stop doing that. Doing what? Pushing me away. Every time we get close, every time you start to trust me, you find a reason to shut me out. I'm being realistic. You're being scared. He turned to face her. I get it, Maya. I do. Every person you've trusted has let you down. But I'm not them. I'm here. I'm staying. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner we can actually figure this out. Figure what out? There's nothing to figure out. The bank is taking the house. I have no job, no savings, no prospects. In 6 weeks, I'm going to have a baby and nowhere to live. Those are facts, Lucas, not fear. Then we change the facts. How? Lucas ran his hand through his hair, thinking. There had to be a solution. There was always a solution. The foreclosure. How much do you owe? $23,000. I fell behind after I lost my job. I've been trying to catch up, but what if we could come up with the money? Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. From where? I already told you I have nothing. I have some savings, not much, but maybe $5,000, and I could take out a loan. Absolutely not. Maya stood up, anger flashing in her eyes. You are not going into debt for me. Do you hear me? I won't allow it. Maya, no. This is exactly what I was afraid of. You're trying to rescue me, and you're going to destroy your own life in the process. What happens when you can't make your loan payments? When you can't afford things for Lily because you're too busy saving me? I won't be responsible for that. You're not responsible. Yes, I am. Because I let you get involved. I let you fix my porch and my roof and sit with me during storms and feel my baby kick. And now you think you have to save me. But you don't, Lucas. I'm not your responsibility. Stop saying that. His voice came out louder than he intended, echoing across the quiet street. Maya took a step back, startled. Lucas took a breath, forced himself to speak calmly. I'm not trying to save you, he said. I'm trying to help you save yourself. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Because saving you would mean doing everything for you, making all your decisions, treating you like you're helpless. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm giving you tools, resources, support. You're the one doing the actual work. You fix that porch. You're the one standing up to Evan. You're the one fighting for your daughter. All I'm doing is standing beside you while you do it. Maya's anger seemed to deflate. She sank back onto the steps, her hand moving unconsciously to her belly. I don't know how to let someone help me. I know, but you're learning. What if I mess this up? What if I let you down? You won't. You can't know that. Maybe not, but I'm willing to take the chance. They sat in silence for a while, the afternoon stretching into early evening. Lucas thought about the roof that still needed finishing, about Lily waiting for him at art class, about all the complicated pieces of his life that he was trying to balance. But he also thought about Maya, about the strength it took to keep fighting when everything seemed hopeless, about the baby growing inside her, innocent and unaware of the storm waiting in the world, about the possibility that maybe, just maybe, he could help make things right. I have a friend, Maya said suddenly, from college. She works in family law. Maybe she could help with the foreclosure, find some kind of loophole or extension. That's a good idea. And I could look for work, something part-time, something I could do from home after the baby comes. Even better. And maybe, she stopped, bit her lip. Maybe I could talk to my parents. I haven't spoken to them in 3 months, but maybe if I explained, one step at a time, Lucas said gently. You don't have to solve everything today. Maya nodded, but he could see the wheels turning in her head, the same determined energy that had carried her through the past few weeks beginning to resurface. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For not letting me give up. For being stubborn right back at me. Lucas smiled. Someone's got to keep you in line. His phone buzzed, a text from the art teacher. Class is over. Lily's waiting. I have to go, he said, standing. I know. Tell Lily I said hi. Lucas paused halfway to his truck. She wants to meet you. Lily. She asked about you this morning. Maya's eyes widened. She did? Yeah. She's curious about the lady her dad keeps helping. What did you tell her? The truth. That you're a friend going through a hard time. And she was okay with that? She's 8. She thinks everyone deserves help. He climbed into his truck, then leaned out the window. Think about it. No pressure. But if you want to meet her sometime, maybe grab lunch or something, she'd like that. Okay, Maya said softly. I will. Lucas drove away, watching her in the mirror until she disappeared. His phone rang almost immediately. Amy. Where have you been? His sister demanded. You were supposed to pick up Lily an hour ago. I know. I'm sorry. I'm 5 minutes away. Lucas, this is getting out of hand. You're spending every free minute with this woman, neglecting your own daughter. I'm not neglecting Lily. Really? Because she's sitting here making up excuses for why her dad's late, trying to convince herself you didn't forget about her. Guilt stabbed through Lucas's chest. I didn't forget. I would never forget. Then prove it. Come get your daughter. Take her home. Be her father instead of trying to be someone else's hero. The line went dead. Lucas pressed the accelerator harder, his jaw tight. Amy was wrong. He wasn't neglecting Lily. He was teaching her by example, showing her what it meant to help people, to stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. But when he pulled up to the art studio and saw Lily sitting on the front steps, her backpack beside her, her face carefully neutral the way kids' faces get when they're trying not to show their hurt, his certainty wavered. Hey, baby, he said, getting out of the truck. I'm sorry I'm late. It's okay. Lily's voice was small. Aunt Amy said you were helping Maya. I was, Her ex-boyfriend showed up and he stopped. She was 8. She didn't need to know about Evan or the confrontation or any of it. I lost track of time. Is Maya okay? She will be. Lily climbed into the truck, buckling her seatbelt with precise, careful movements. Lucas knew that body language. She was mad at him. I really am sorry, Lily. I know. They drove in silence for a few blocks. Then Lily said, Do you like her more than me? Lucas nearly swerved off the road. What? No, Lily, no, you're my whole world, you know that. But you're always with her now, fixing her house and helping her and thinking about her. That doesn't mean I like her more than you. That's not even, you can't compare those things, baby. You're my daughter. Nothing is more important than you. Then why are you always leaving me to go help her? It was a fair question, one Lucas didn't have a good answer for. Because she needs help right now, he said carefully, and because I have the skills to help her. But that doesn't mean you're less important. It just means, he struggled for the right words. When you have the ability to help someone, you should. That's what I'm trying to teach you, to be the kind of person who shows up. But what if I need you and you're not there? I will always be there for you, Lily. Always. No matter what. Promise? Promise. But even as he said it, Lucas wondered if he could keep that promise. If he could balance being there for his daughter while also being there for Maya. If there was enough of him to go around. That night, after Lily was asleep, Lucas sat at his kitchen table with his laptop, researching foreclosure laws and loan options and assistance programs. There had to be something he was missing, some way to help Maya keep her house. Around midnight, his phone buzzed. A text from Maya. Thank you for today, for standing up to Evan, for believing in me. He typed back. Anytime. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, I'm scared, Lucas, really scared. I know, but you're not alone. I want to believe that, then believe it. I'm not going anywhere. A long pause. Then, good night, Lucas. Good night, Maya. He set down his phone and stared at his research, at all the impossible numbers and legal jargon. Amy was right. He was getting in too deep, taking on too much, risking too much. But when he thought about walking away, about leaving Maya to face Evan and the bank and the uncertain future alone, something in his chest tightened. He couldn't do it. Couldn't be another person who abandoned her. So he'd figure it out, somehow. He'd find a way to help Maya keep her house and take care of his daughter and not lose himself in the process. He had to. Because the alternative, a world where he gave up, where Maya lost everything, where another single mother ended up alone and desperate, was unacceptable. Lucas had been that desperate single parent once, and he'd promised himself he'd never let anyone else go through it alone if he had the power to help, even if helping cost him everything. The foreclosure deadline was 3 weeks away when Maya's lawyer friend called with news. Lucas was at Maya's house, installing new weather stripping around the windows, when he heard her voice crack through the phone. Are you sure? Maya was saying. There's no other option? He set down his tools and moved to the doorway where she stood, one hand pressed against the wall for support. Okay. Thank you for trying, Jennifer. I appreciate it. She hung up and stared at the phone in her hand like it was a foreign object. What did she say? Lucas asked. The bank won't negotiate. They want the full amount by the deadline or they're proceeding with foreclosure. No extensions, no payment plans, nothing. Maya's voice was hollow. It's over. I'm losing the house. Lucas watched the defeat settle over her shoulders like a heavy coat. In the 4 weeks since they'd met, he'd seen her scared, angry, exhausted, but he'd never seen her give up. We still have 3 weeks, he said. To come up with $23,000? Lucas, be realistic. I am being realistic. 3 weeks is enough time to figure something out. Maya shook her head slowly. I've been looking for work. I've applied to 37 jobs in the past 2 weeks. You know how many interviews I've gotten? 0. Nobody wants to hire someone who's 8 months pregnant and about to take maternity leave. Then we look at other options. Grants, loans, assistance program. I've tried all of that. I don't qualify. I make too much for assistance, but not enough to get a loan. She laughed bitterly. I'm in this perfect middle ground where I'm too broke to get help, but not broke enough to deserve it. Lucas knew that ground. He'd lived on it for years after Jennifer left. What about your parents? He asked carefully. What about them? You said you might talk to them. I did talk to them. Last week. I called and explained everything, the foreclosure, the baby, all of it. Maya's jaw tightened. My father said that if I was determined to keep the baby and ruin my life, I'd have to do it without their help. That they'd already told me what I should do, and if I refused to listen, I could face the consequences. Maya, don't. Just don't. I don't want pity or sympathy or whatever you're about to say. I'm tired of feeling sorry for myself. She walked to the window, staring out at the street. It was early March now, that strange liminal time when winter was releasing its grip, but spring hadn't quite taken hold. The trees were bare, the sky overcast, everything gray and waiting. I called Evan this morning, Maya said quietly. Lucas felt his stomach drop. Why? Because maybe he's right. Maybe I am being selfish. Maybe the smart thing to do is take his money, give the baby to the Hendersons, start over somewhere new. You don't mean that. Don't I? She turned to face him, and her eyes were red-rimmed but dry. I've been lying to myself, Lucas, pretending I could make this work. But the truth is, I can't give this baby what she needs. I can't provide stability or security or any of the things a child deserves. You can provide love. That's what matters. Love doesn't keep you warm at night when you don't have a house. Love doesn't fill an empty stomach. Maya, listen to me. No, you listen. Her voice rose, sharp with frustration. I appreciate everything you've done, truly. But this isn't your problem to solve. You have your own daughter to worry about. You can't keep sacrificing your time and money and energy trying to save someone who can't be saved. You can be saved. You just need to what? Have faith? Keep fighting? I'm so tired of fighting, Lucas. Every single day is a fight and I'm exhausted. Maybe it's time to stop. The words hung between them like smoke. Lucas felt something twist in his chest, fear mixed with anger mixed with desperate determination. So that's it, he said. You're giving up? After everything we've worked for? We didn't work for anything. You worked. You fixed my house and stood up to my ex and made me believe things could get better. But they're not getting better. They're getting worse. Because you're not letting me help anymore. Because there's nothing left to help with. Maya's voice cracked. The house is gone, Lucas. It's over. And the sooner I accept that, the sooner I can figure out what comes next. What comes next is you fight. You don't give up that baby. You don't give Evan the satisfaction of being right. This isn't about Evan. Yes, it is. You want to prove him wrong. You want to prove everyone wrong. Your parents, your ex, everyone who said you couldn't do this. Well, guess what? You're stronger than all of them. You just have to believe it. Maya pressed her hands to her face, her shoulders shaking. When she spoke again, her voice was muffled. I don't know how to believe anymore. Lucas crossed the room and gently pulled her hands away from her face. Then let me believe for both of us. Just a little longer, please. She looked at him with those storm cloud eyes, searching for something, hope, maybe, or certainty, or just the strength to keep going one more day. 3 more weeks, she whispered. That's all we have. Then we make them count. The next 2 weeks blurred together in a frenzy of activity. Lucas worked his regular job during the day, then spent every evening at Maya's house making repairs and improvements. He fixed the leaky faucet in the kitchen, replaced the broken boards on the back deck, painted the living room. Maya helped when she could, but at 34 weeks pregnant, she tired easily. Lucas also made calls. He contacted every bank in the county, every lending institution, every organization that offered financial assistance to struggling families. He filled out applications, wrote letters, made his case. Most of the time, he hit dead ends, but occasionally, he found a sliver of hope. There's a nonprofit in the city that helps prevent foreclosures, he told Maya one evening. They were sitting at her kitchen table, surrounded by paperwork. They have an emergency fund for cases like yours. How much? Up to $5,000. Maya's face fell. That's not enough. It's a start. If we can get that, plus the money I have saved, we'd be at $10,000. We'd still need 13 more, but where would that come from? Lucas didn't have an answer. His own life was starting to fray at the edges. He was exhausted, running on coffee and determination. He'd missed 2 of Lily's bedtimes, forgotten about a parent-teacher conference, snapped at his boss when questioned about leaving work early. Amy had stopped calling, her silence more damning than any lecture. Lily had started drawing pictures at school. Her teacher sent one home, a family portrait. There was Lily in the middle, Lucas on one side, and on the other side a woman with long dark hair and a big round belly. "Who's this?" Lucas had asked, pointing to the woman. "That's Maya," Lily said simply. "She's part of our family now, right?" Lucas didn't know how to answer that, because the truth was complicated and messy and he didn't understand it himself. 10 days before the foreclosure deadline, Maya went into early labor. Lucas was at work when he got the call. He dropped everything and drove to the hospital, breaking every speed limit, his heart hammering in his chest. By the time he arrived, they'd managed to stop the contractions, but Maya was on bed rest for the remainder of her pregnancy. "Stress," the doctor said when Lucas found them in the hospital room. "Her blood pressure is too high. She needs to rest, stay calm, avoid any additional anxiety." Lucas looked at Maya, pale and small in the hospital bed, hooked up to monitors that beeped steadily. "How long does she need to stay here?" "We'll keep her overnight for observation, but after that she can go home as long as someone's there to help her. She can't be alone, and she can't be doing any physical activity. Complete bed rest until the baby comes." After the doctor left, Lucas pulled a chair beside Maya's bed. "I'll stay with you." "Lucas, you can't." "I can and I will. I'll bring Lily. We'll camp out at your place. Make sure you're taken care of." "What about your work?" "I'll figure it out." "Your daughter?" "Will understand. She's a good kid." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. My problems taking over your life." "They're not taking over. I'm choosing this." "Why? Why do you keep choosing this?" Lucas took her hand, careful of the IV line. "Because someone has to, and I'd rather it be me." The hospital released Maya the next morning with strict instructions. Lucas drove her home and got her settled on the couch with pillows and blankets. Then he went to pick up Lily from school. "We're staying at Maya's house for a while," he told his daughter as they drove. "She needs help and can't be alone." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Is she going to have the baby soon?" "Maybe. That's why we need to be there." "What if she has the baby while we're there? What happens then?" "Then we call an ambulance and make sure she gets to the hospital safely." "What if the ambulance doesn't come in time?" Lucas glanced at his daughter, saw the worry in her young face. "That won't happen, baby. But even if it did, we'd handle it, together." When they arrived at Maya's house, Lily hung back shyly in the doorway while Lucas brought in their overnight bags. Maya was still on the couch, looking tired but more rested than she had at the hospital. "Hi," Maya said softly. "You must be Lily. I've heard a lot about you." Lily stepped forward, her hands clasped in front of her. "Hi, are you okay?" "I'm better now. Thank you for asking." "Can I see the baby?" Maya smiled and gestured to her belly. "She's in here. Do you want to feel her kick?" Lily looked at Lucas for permission. He nodded. She approached carefully, placing her small hand on Maya's stomach. After a moment, her eyes widened. She moved. "She's saying hello," Maya said. Lily kept her hand there, her face full of wonder. "What's her name?" "I haven't decided yet. Do you have any suggestions?" "I like Emma, or Sophie, or maybe Charlotte." "Those are all beautiful names. I'll think about them." Lucas watched them together, his daughter and this woman who'd somehow become essential to his life, and felt something shift in his chest. This was right. Complicated and messy and probably ill-advised, but right. They settled into a routine over the next few days. Lucas would make breakfast while Maya rested. Lily would do her homework at the kitchen table, occasionally bringing Maya books or drawing her pictures. Lucas would make dinner, clean up, then work on whatever project the house needed while Lily and Maya watched movies together. It felt like playing house, Lucas thought, like pretending at being a family. Except it didn't feel like pretending. 5 days before the foreclosure deadline, Evan showed up again. Lucas answered the door, blocking the entrance with his body. "She's not taking visitors." "I'm not a visitor. I have a legal right to discuss matters concerning my child." "Your child?" Lucas's voice was dangerous. "You gave up that right when you walked away." "I never terminated my parental rights." "Which means I have say in what happens to this baby." You need to leave. Not until I see Maya. Who is it? Maya called from the living room. Evan pushed past Lucas before he could react. Lucas grabbed his arm, but Evan shook him off and strode into the house. Maya was on the couch, Lily beside her showing her a drawing. Both of them looked up in alarm as Evan entered. What are you doing here? Maya demanded. We need to talk privately. Evan's eyes landed on Lily. Is that his daughter? You have a child here? In your condition? That's irresponsible even for you, Maya. Don't you dare, Lucas started. Lily, go to your room, Maya interrupted, her voice firm but kind. But, please, sweetheart, just for a few minutes. Lily looked between the adults, clearly not wanting to leave, but she obeyed. Lucas waited until he heard the bedroom door close before turning back to Evan. You have 2 minutes. Say what you came to say, and get out. Evan pulled out his phone, scrolling through something. I've been making inquiries. About you, Lucas Reed. Did you know that CPS investigated you 6 years ago? Lucas felt ice flood his veins. A neighbor reported that you were leaving your toddler daughter alone while you worked late hours. The case was dismissed, of course, when they realized you were a single father doing his best. But it's still on record, still discoverable. That has nothing to do with... It has everything to do with this situation, because here you are again involving your daughter in a chaotic situation with a woman you barely know. Some might say you have a pattern of poor judgment where your child's welfare is concerned. Get out, Lucas said quietly. I'm trying to protect everyone here. Maya, the baby, even your daughter. This arrangement, he gestured around the house, it's unhealthy. You're not married. You're not even in a relationship as far as I can tell. You're just two desperate people clinging to each other and dragging innocent children into your mess. We're not desperate, Maya said. We're trying to build something better. Better? Evan laughed. Maya, you're about to be homeless. You have no job, no prospects, and you're bringing a baby into this disaster. How is that better? Because I'm not alone. You're delusional, both of you. Evan pocketed his phone. The Hendersons are still willing to adopt. They've agreed to pay your medical expenses, give you $20,000, help you get back on your feet. All you have to do is sign the papers. I'm not signing anything. Then you're condemning this child to poverty, to instability, to a life of struggle when she could have so much more. She'll have a mother who loves her. That's more than enough. Evan shook his head slowly. I tried. When everything falls apart, and it will fall apart, remember that I tried to help you. He left without another word. Lucas locked the door behind him and stood there, his hands shaking. Is it true? Maya asked quietly. About CPS? Lucas turned. It was nothing. A misunderstanding. My neighbor saw Lily playing in the yard alone one evening while I ran to the corner store for milk. She called it in. They investigated, saw that Lily was well cared for, and closed the case. It was 6 years ago. But it's on your record. Yes. Evan could use that against you. Against us. There's no us for him to use it against, Lucas said. But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't true. There was an us. They'd been building one for weeks now, brick by careful brick. Maya struggled to sit up. He's right about one thing. This is affecting Lily. She shouldn't be here, shouldn't be caught up in all this drama. She's fine. She's 8 years old, and there are strange men showing up making threats. That's not fine, Lucas. That's not what children should be exposed to. So what do you want me to do? Leave, take Lily, and walk away? Maybe that would be best. The words hit Lucas like a physical blow. You don't mean that. I don't know what I mean anymore. I'm tired and scared, and Evan keeps showing up, and the foreclosure is in 5 days, and I can't think straight. Then don't think. Just trust me. That's not fair. You're asking me to trust you with everything. My house, my future, my daughter's future. But you have your own family to protect. What happens when you have to choose between us and Lily? Because that's what Evan's trying to force. He wants you to choose. Lucas sat down heavily in the chair across from her. I won't choose. I refuse to choose. Life doesn't work that way. Then I'll make it work that way. They sat in tense silence. After a moment, Lily's door opened and she peeked out. Is it safe? She asked in a small voice. Come here, baby. Lucas said. Lily climbed into his lap, even though she was getting too big for it, and pressed her face against his chest. He could feel her trembling. I don't like that man, she whispered. I don't either. Is he going to make us leave? Lucas met Maya's eyes over Lily's head. No one's making anyone leave. We're going to figure this out. But later that night, after Lily was asleep and Maya had dozed off on the couch, Lucas sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands and wondered if he'd been lying to everyone, including himself. The math didn't work. No matter how many times he ran the numbers, no matter how many applications he filed or calls he made, they were still short. Even with his savings and the nonprofit grant and every penny he could scrape together, they didn't have enough to stop the foreclosure. And Evan's threat hung over everything. Lucas knew how these things worked. If Evan wanted to make trouble, claimed that Lucas was an unfit father, or that the situation was harmful to Lily, it could mean investigations, court dates, lawyers he couldn't afford. He'd survived losing Jennifer. He'd survived being alone with a baby and no money and no idea what he was doing. But he couldn't survive losing Lily. She was everything. His phone buzzed. A text from Amy. We need to talk. Tomorrow. No excuses. Lucas stared at the message but didn't respond. He knew what Amy would say, that he needed to step back, protect his daughter, let Maya handle her own problems, that he was being reckless and irresponsible and putting Lily at risk. Maybe she was right, but when he looked at Maya sleeping on the couch, one hand resting on her belly, her face finally peaceful after days of stress and fear, he couldn't imagine walking away, couldn't imagine leaving her to face what was coming alone. So he sat there in the quiet house, watching over two people who weren't his responsibility, but somehow had become his entire world, and tried to figure out how to save everyone when he could barely save himself. The answer didn't come that night, or the next day, or the day after that. And then, 3 days before the foreclosure was final, the second storm hit. The weather forecast had been calling for it all week, an unseasonable late winter storm system moving in from Canada, bringing heavy snow and ice. But March storms in their part of the country were usually brief, messy affairs that melted within a day or two. Nobody expected what actually came. The snow started falling Thursday afternoon, fat flakes that accumulated faster than the plows could clear them. Lucas had taken the day off work to meet with Amy, a conversation he'd been dreading. They sat in a coffee shop downtown while Lily was at school, the tension between them thick enough to cut. "You look terrible," Amy said without preamble. "Thanks." "I'm serious, Lucas. You've lost weight. There are circles under your eyes. You're running yourself into the ground." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. And more importantly, Lily's not fine. She came to me last week crying because she thinks you're going to leave her for Maya and the new baby." Lucas felt his chest constrict. "What? I would never. I know that. You know that. But Lily's 8 years old and her mother already abandoned her once. Now her father is spending every waking moment with another woman and another baby. What's she supposed to think? I've been including her. She's been staying at Maya's with me." "Exactly. You've moved your daughter into a stranger's house, exposed her to confrontations with Maya's ex, disrupted her entire routine. For what? To play savior to a woman you barely know? It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're sabotaging your own life and your daughter's stability to rescue someone who might not even want to be rescued." Lucas stared into his coffee, unable to meet his sister's eyes. "Maya needs help. So do a lot of people. You can't save everyone, Lucas." "I'm not trying to save everyone, just her." Amy leaned back, studying him. "Oh my God, you're in love with her." "What? No, it's not. We're not." "You are. You're in love with her and you don't even realize it." Lucas opened his mouth to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. Because maybe Amy was right. Maybe what had started as simple compassion had shifted into something deeper, something more complicated. Maybe he'd been lying to himself about his motives. "Even if I was," he said slowly, "it doesn't matter. Maya's made it clear we're just friends. She's not looking for a relationship." "Is she the one who made that clear? Or are you just assuming because you're both too scared to admit what's really happening?" Before Lucas could answer, his phone rang. The school. His stomach dropped. "Mr. Reed, this is Principal Morrison. Lily's fine, but we need you to come pick her up. The storm's getting worse and we're dismissing early." Lucas looked out the window. The snow was falling so thick now he could barely see across the street. "I'll be right there." He stood, grabbing his coat. Amy caught his arm. "Talk to Lily tonight. Really talk to her. Find out what she needs. Because that little girl has to come first, Lucas. Always." "I know." "Do you?" "Because your actions lately suggest otherwise." Lucas pulled away and headed into the storm. The roads were already treacherous, his truck sliding on the ice. By the time he reached the school, the parking lot was chaos, parents trying to navigate the slippery conditions, teachers directing traffic, kids bundled up and wide-eyed at the unexpected snow day. He found Lily waiting by the front doors with her teacher. "Dad!" She ran to him, nearly slipping on the ice. He caught her, held her tight. "Hey, baby, you okay?" "They said we might not have school tomorrow either. Is that true?" "Looks like it." The snow was already over 6 inches deep and still falling. "We need to get home before the roads get worse." They made it back to his house just as the power flickered. Lucas got Lily settled with hot chocolate and her homework, then checked his phone. 3 missed calls from Maya. He called her back immediately. "Maya, what's wrong?" "The power just went out." Her voice was tight with barely controlled panic. "And Lucas, I think I'm in labor. Real labor this time." "Are you sure?" "The contractions started an hour ago. They're 5 minutes apart now." "I'm calling 911. "I already did. They said all the ambulances are out on emergency calls because of the weather. They'll get here as soon as they can, but—" Her voice broke. "Lucas, I'm alone. I can't do this alone. I'm coming. The roads. I don't care about the roads. I'm coming. Just hold on." He hung up and turned to Lily. "Baby, I need you to stay here. Lock the doors. Don't answer for anyone except me or Aunt Amy. Understand?" Lily's face went pale. "Is it Maya? Is she having the baby?" "Yes, and I need to help her, but I'll be back as soon as I can. I want to come with you." "It's too dangerous." "Then it's too dangerous for you too." Lily's voice rose, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Don't leave me, Dad. Please don't leave me." Lucas knelt in front of his daughter, taking her hands. This was the moment Amy had warned him about. The choice. But looking at Lily's terrified face, he realized it wasn't a choice at all. "You're right," he said gently. "We go together. Both of us. We help Maya together. As a family." Lily's tears stopped. "Really?" "Really. But you have to promise to do exactly what I say, okay? No arguments." "I promise." They bundled up in their warmest clothes and headed out into the storm. The snow was falling so heavily now that Lucas could barely see 10 feet ahead. The roads were worse than he'd feared. Ice underneath the snow, his truck fishtailing even with 4-wheel drive. Twice he almost turned back. But then he'd think of Maya alone, scared, in labor with no one there to help, and he'd press forward. The 15-minute drive took 45 minutes. By the time they reached Maya's street, the snow was over a foot deep and still coming down. Lucas pulled as close to the house as he could, then helped Lily wade through the drifts to the front door. Maya answered after his first knock, her face pale and slick with sweat. She was gripping the doorframe, breathing hard through a contraction. "You came," she gasped. "Of course I came." Lucas got her inside, Lily following close behind. "How far apart are the contractions?" 3 minutes. Maybe less." Maya's eyes landed on Lily. "You brought—" "We're a package deal," Lucas said firmly. "Lily, I need you to be brave right now. Can you do that?" Lily nodded, her eyes huge but determined. "Good. Go to the bathroom and get every clean towel you can find. Bring them here." Lily ran off. Lucas guided Maya to the couch, helping her lie down. "The ambulance?" Maya asked. "I'll call again." But when he did, the dispatcher said the same thing. All units were responding to accidents and emergencies across the county. The earliest they could promise was 2 hours, maybe 3. Lucas looked at Maya, saw the fear in her eyes, and made a decision. "We're not waiting," he said. "I'm going to help you through this. You've never delivered a baby. I was there when Lily was born. I know what to expect, and I called my sister on the way here. She's a nurse, remember? She talked me through what to do. That was only partially true. Amy had given him some basic instructions, mostly centered around keeping calm and calling 911. But Lucas had also spent the drive listening to an emergency childbirth instructional video on his phone, his hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. Lily returned with an armful of towels. Lucas sent her to boil water, not because he needed it, but because he needed her occupied, feeling useful, not scared. Another contraction hit Maya. She cried out, gripping Lucas's hand so hard he felt bones grinding together. "Breathe," he told her. "In through your nose, out through your mouth, just like we practiced." "We never practiced," Maya gasped. "Well, we're practicing now." The contractions came faster, harder. Maya's breathing turned ragged, desperate. Lucas tried to remember everything Amy had told him, everything he'd heard on that video. He washed his hands, laid out clean towels, tried to project a calm he absolutely didn't feel. "I can't do this," Maya sobbed between contractions. "Lucas, I can't." "Yes, you can. You're the strongest person I know." "I'm not strong. I'm terrified." "Being terrified and doing it anyway, that's what strength is." Another contraction. Maya screamed, and Lucas heard Lily gasp from the kitchen doorway. "It's okay, baby," he called to his daughter. "Maya's okay. This is normal." But his heart was hammering. What if something went wrong? What if he missed something, did something wrong, and something happened to Maya or the baby because he wasn't qualified, wasn't prepared, wasn't enough? "Lucas," Maya's voice cut through his panic. "Look at me." He met her eyes. "I trust you," she said. "If I'm going to do this, I'm glad it's with you." Something settled in Lucas's chest. The fear didn't disappear, but it became manageable, because Maya trusted him, and he couldn't let her down. The labor progressed fast. Too fast. Within an hour, Maya was screaming that she needed to push, and Lucas was trying to remember if that was too soon or exactly right, or what he was supposed to do next. "Lily," he called. "I need you to call 911 again. Tell them the baby's coming now." Lily grabbed the phone with shaking hands. Lucas could hear her voice, high and frightened but clear, explaining the situation to the dispatcher. "They said to tell you not to let her push yet if you can help it," Lily relayed. "They said wait for the paramedics." "Tell them we can't wait." Maya was already pushing, her face contorted with effort. Lucas positioned himself, hands ready, heart in his throat. He'd seen Lily born, but he'd been on the other end, holding Jennifer's hand, watching doctors work with practiced efficiency. He'd never imagined being the one to actually deliver a baby. "One more push," he told Maya. "I can see the head. You're almost there." Maya bore down, screaming, and suddenly there she was, a tiny, perfect baby girl sliding into Lucas's waiting hands. For a moment, time stopped. The storm, the foreclosure, Evan's threats, all of it disappeared. There was only this small life, wet and wrinkled and absolutely silent. Too silent. "Why isn't she crying?" Maya asked frantically. "Lucas, why isn't she crying?" Lucas's hands moved on autopilot, remembering something he'd read or heard or just knew. He cleared the baby's mouth and nose, rubbed her back gently, firmly. "Come on," he thought desperately. "Come on, little one." Then, a sputter, a cough, and finally, gloriously, a thin wail that grew stronger with each breath. Relief crashed through Lucas so hard his knees almost buckled. He wrapped the baby in a clean towel and placed her on Maya's chest. Maya's hands came up to hold her daughter, tears streaming down her face. "She's here," Maya sobbed. "She's actually here." Lucas looked up and saw Lily standing in the doorway, her eyes wide with wonder. "Come here, Lily," he said softly. "Come meet her." Lily approached slowly, almost reverently. She looked down at the baby, and her face transformed with pure joy. "She's so small," Lily whispered. "You were that small once," Lucas said. "What's her name?" Lily asked Maya. Maya looked at the baby, then at Lucas, then back at her daughter. "Hope," she said. "Her name is Hope." The ambulance finally arrived 20 minutes later, struggling up the snow-covered street. The paramedics checked both Maya and Hope, pronounced them healthy, but said the hospital was on lockdown because of the storm. Only emergency admissions. Since both mother and baby were stable, They recommended staying put until the roads cleared. "We can't leave anyway," one paramedic said, looking out the window. "This storm's supposed to last another 12 hours at least. You're safer here than trying to navigate those roads." After they left, Lucas helped Maya get cleaned up and settled in her bed with Hope. Lily sat in a chair beside them, unable to take her eyes off the baby. "I helped deliver her," Lily said with quiet pride. "I was brave." "You were very brave," Maya agreed. "Thank you for being here." "Dad says we're family now. Is that true?" Maya looked at Lucas, a question in her eyes. Lucas moved to the bedside and sat on the edge of the mattress, careful not to jostle anyone. "That's up to your dad and me to figure out," Maya said gently. "But I hope so. I'd like that very much." "Me too," Lily said. Then she yawned hugely. "Come on, baby," Lucas said. "Let's let Maya and Hope rest. You can sleep in the guest room." He tucked Lily into bed, kissed her forehead, and returned to Maya's room. She was nursing Hope, her face soft with exhaustion and wonder. "Thank you," she said when Lucas entered. "For everything. For coming through the storm, for delivering her, for not leaving me alone. I told you, you're not alone anymore." "But we still have a problem. The foreclosure is in 2 days. Even with everything that just happened, the bank won't care." Lucas sat down heavily. In the chaos of Hope's birth, he'd almost forgotten. But Maya was right. The deadline was still looming. "We'll figure something out," he said. But even to his own ears, it sounded hollow. The storm raged through the night. Lucas dozed fitfully in the chair beside Maya's bed, waking every time Hope made a sound. By morning, the snow had finally stopped, leaving the world buried under nearly 2 feet of white. Lucas's phone had dozens of messages, from Amy, from his boss, from the nonprofit foundation. He scrolled through them, his heart sinking with each one. Then he reached the last message, sent at 3:17 a.m. It was from the bank. "Due to the severe weather emergency, all foreclosure proceedings scheduled for this week have been postponed by 30 days. We apologize for any inconvenience." Lucas read it 3 times to make sure he wasn't imagining it. 30 days. They had 30 more days. He showed Maya the message. She stared at it, then started crying, big gulping sobs of relief and exhaustion. "It's not over," she said through her tears. "We still don't have the money. We still have to figure out how to come up with $23,000 in a month." "But it's a chance," Lucas said. "It's time." Over the next 3 weeks, something shifted. The storm had made the local news, and with it came the story of a carpenter who drove through a blizzard to deliver a baby for a single mother facing foreclosure. A reporter contacted Lucas, asked if they could do a feature. Lucas declined, but Maya agreed. The story ran on the evening news, then the local paper picked it up, then social media got hold of it. Within a week, a GoFundMe page appeared, not created by Lucas or Maya, but by someone in the community who'd been moved by the story. The goal was set at $25,000. It reached that goal in 4 days. Lucas watched the donations pour in, $20 here, $50 there, occasionally $100. Strangers from across the country contributing because they believed in second chances, in helping people who were trying to help themselves. "I don't understand," Maya said, staring at the total. "Why would all these people give money to someone they don't know?" "Because your story matters," Lucas said. "Because everyone loves seeing good things happen to people who deserve them." "I don't deserve this." "Yes, you do." The nonprofit foundation called with more good news. Maya's application had been approved for their emergency fund, $5,000. Combined with the GoFundMe donations and Lucas's savings, they had more than enough to pay off the foreclosure with money left over. On the day the bank draft was due, Lucas drove Maya and Hope to the bank. Lily came too, insisting she wanted to be there for the important moment. The bank manager processed the payment, stamped the paperwork, and handed Maya the receipt. "Congratulations, Ms. Collins. The house is yours, free and clear." Maya sat in the chair holding the receipt with shaking hands, Hope asleep in her carrier at her feet. "I can't believe it's real." "It's real," Lucas said. Outside, as they walked to the truck through the first warm day of spring, Maya stopped and turned to Lucas. "I need to say something," she said, "and I need you to let me finish before you respond." Lucas nodded. You saved my life. Not just my house or my finances, but my actual life. When you showed up that first day in the rain, I'd given up. I'd decided that the world was cruel and people were selfish, and I was better off alone. But you proved me wrong. You showed me that there are still good people who help for no reason other than it's the right thing to do. Maya, I'm not finished. I've been thinking about Evan's question, about what you want from me, and I think I finally know the answer. You want the same thing I want, a family, a partnership, someone to build a life with. Lucas's heart was hammering. Maya, I don't want you to feel obligated. I don't. This isn't obligation. It's choice. She stepped closer. I'm choosing you, Lucas, if you'll have me, if you'll have us. Lucas looked at this woman who'd come into his life in the middle of a rainstorm and somehow become essential. At the baby in the carrier who'd been born in a blizzard with only him to help. At his daughter standing beside them, her face hopeful and open. I've been choosing you since that first night, he said. I just didn't know how to say it. Maya kissed him then, soft and sure and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Lily was grinning. Does this mean Maya and Hope are coming to live with us? She asked. Lucas looked at Maya. Is that something you'd want? Eventually, Maya said, but I think we should take things slow, date properly. Let Lily get used to the idea. Build something real instead of rushing. Slow sounds good, Lucas agreed. They went to lunch to celebrate, then back to Maya's house, because it was Maya's house now, truly hers. Lucas helped her set up the nursery they'd built together, hanging the mobile he'd carved from wood, arranging the furniture they'd assembled. That evening, as the sun set and painted everything gold, Lucas stood on the porch he'd rebuilt and looked at the house. It was solid now, safe, whole, just like the woman inside it, just like himself. His phone rang. Amy. So, his sister said, I saw the news story, pretty dramatic. It wasn't supposed to be dramatic, it just happened. Uh-huh. And the part where you're dating Maya now, that just happened too? We're taking it slow. Lucas Reed taking anything slow. I'll believe it when I see it. But there was warmth in Amy's voice. I'm happy for you, really. I was wrong to push you to walk away. You did a good thing. I did the only thing I could do. That's what makes you a good man. The fact that helping people isn't a choice for you, it's just who you are. After they hung up, Lucas went back inside. Lily was teaching Maya how to play her favorite card game while Hope slept in her bassinet. Maya looked up when Lucas entered, and her smile was everything, grateful and joyful, and full of the kind of hope her daughter was named for. Lucas had spent 6 years alone, raising his daughter, keeping his head down, just trying to survive. He'd built walls to protect himself, convinced that depending on others only led to disappointment. But Maya had taught him something different. She'd taught him that letting people in, really letting them in, wasn't weakness. That accepting help wasn't the same as giving up. That sometimes the strongest thing you could do was admit you couldn't do it alone. He'd shown up in a rainstorm to fix a porch. He'd left with a family. Not a family built on blood or obligation or desperation, but on choice. On showing up. On being the person who stayed when things got hard. 3 months later, Maya returned to teaching at a new school. Hope thrived, growing plump and happy. Lily announced that being a big sister was the best thing that had ever happened to her. And Lucas. Lucas learned how to balance his life, to be there for everyone who needed him without losing himself in the process. The house on Maple Street stood solid and sure, its porch gleaming in the sunlight, a testament to what could be built with patience and care and the stubborn refusal to give up. And sometimes, on quiet evenings, Lucas would stand on that porch and remember the man he'd been that first rainy day, lonely, cautious, playing it safe. He'd thank that man for having the courage to knock on a stranger's door, for choosing to help, for believing that broken things could be fixed and broken people could heal, because in saving Maya Collins, Lucas Reed had saved himself. And together they'd built something neither of them could have built alone, a home, a family, and a future full of the kind of hope that only comes from refusing to give up, even when the whole world says you should. The foreclosure notice was long gone, replaced by a welcome mat that read, Home. And inside that home, Three people who'd been broken in different ways had found a way to be whole together. That was the real miracle. Not the money that appeared or the storm that delayed the deadline or any of the dramatic moments in between. The miracle was simply this: people who'd learned to survive alone, discovering that they were better together. And every day, they chose each other. Again and again and again. That was enough. That was everything.